Hello Steelers, and welcome to this very special game of Black Powder. This is my second ever game of Black Powder. I've only ever played it once down the club. We were testing a game of Anglo-Zulu War for I think one of the shows, maybe Partisan. We played it just as a tester, really, to see if it worked, the scenario. I cannot remember a single thing about that game whatsoever, and anyway, this is from the Waterloo campaign. So this is the book that Warlord sent out to me as part of their starter sets that they sent, the French and the British ones, which is pretty much a year ago now when I'm recording this, and I've only just got to the point where I'm actually able to field two 1,000-point sides on either side, the French and the British. So I've just gone through a 1,000-point game for those that are interested. Generally, I'm not that fussed about points in games, but I just sat down and I worked out how much I got, how much they're worth. I think the French is about 977 points and the British is just under 1,000, so there's a little bit of leeway here and there between the two. I've created a scenario that's based very loosely on Quatre-Bras, basically a crossroads with a French attack on it. I thought I'd go simple. We have got the French Guard here, which obviously weren't at Quatre-Bras, but I just thought I'd go quite simple and just have a bit of a mash-up and see how the game goes. What I might do, I don't know yet. I might actually play the game for about, I don't know, 6 turns or so, see where we're at with that, and then say that darkness has fallen. I'm not sure how far forward we'll get with that, so I'm kind of looking at it about 6 turns. I'm going to, as I say, this is the first, the first 0.5 time game I've ever played of Black Powder. So I am going to make mistakes, and I know there's a lot of Black Powder players out there, so you will most likely notice those, but let's just forget about that. It doesn't really matter. It's all about the narration of the game, isn't it, really, the narrative of the game. But I've been reading the rules for the last few days. There's a lot of little finicky things in there because I've actually made a list of all the different unit traits that we have here, the special rules for each of the units. So remembering those would have been almost impossible for me, especially for those sides. So I've written everything out. I will try to remember as much as possible in here as I can, and I was also trying to remember the rules as well. I think they're reasonably basic, so I think I should be okay. But time will tell. Enough waffle from me. What I'll do is I will put the list that I've used, or the lists that I've used, up on the screen. They should probably be appearing about now. You've got an idea of the kind of stuff that I'm going to be using in this game. I will then just show you the table and these forces that are involved, and I'll point out the different brigades that we got as well. I think it's something like 3 British infantry brigades with 2 cavalry brigades, and I think the French are the same with 3 infantry, one of them guard, with 2 cavalry brigades as well. So a relatively similar setup for both sides. The French have got to capture the crossroads. They've got to get through and push through and capture the road up here on the ridge. Pretty similar, as I said, to Quatre-Bras itself. Right, anyway, enough waffle. Let's get down and dirty and let's see what happens in this game. So here we have the table, and as I say, there's the ridge with the crossroads running up to it. A little house at the back there, not going to be really used in the battle. Nobody's going to be going into it, I don't think. A few fields here and there which won't stop. These are just open terrain, they're not cover, but we do have a wood over here emulating Bossau wood. So we've got on the ridge, we've got the British. Over here we have basically 1 brigade over here. This is made up of Highlanders, light infantry. We've got some Brunswick light infantry down here, and also line infantry here. Then we've also got Brigade 1, which is right in the centre on the crossroads, and this is the guards. It's got the KGL in there. It's also got the light and the line infantry in there. And then finally on this flank as well, the British left flank, we've got 2 Dutch and also I think it's 2 a line and a Highlander unit over there, just to show them up a little bit. We also then, of course, have got heavy cavalry at the back, made up of 4 household cavalry units, and also a light cavalry unit here made up of hussars, light dragoons as well, and also a very small hussar unit as well, of only 2 bases. So that's the British. Wellington, or Old Nosy, is kicking about over here as our army commander, and we've also got a couple of artillery batteries attached here as well to these 2 brigades, so again, to dominate that high ground and that ridge. Meanwhile, our French forces are down here, dominated by the Guard in the centre. So we've got 2 Grenadier units at the front, but we've also got the Guard Grenadiers à Cheval and also the Chasseurs à Cheval of the Guard. These are all part of the same brigade, and they've got their 12-pounders as well at the front, just a couple of those. I've not finished off the 3rd one yet, or the 3rd battalion for the Guard yet. So that is the Guard brigade. Then also on this flank as well, we have another unit over here. This is made up of 2 line infantry, 2 light infantry, and also 2 batteries as well of artillery. On their flank over here, they've got the 2nd Brigade, or at least the one I'm calling. This is made up of 3 line, 2 light, and also 1 battery as well. And then we have as well our cavalry. So over here we've got the these are the light cavalry. So we've got lancers, and we've also got the chasseurs à cheval and a horse artillery battery. And then over here we've got the heavy cavalry, and this is made up of the dragoons and also the carabiniers. So again, as I say, relatively similar to the British. I'm not really sure who's got the most cavalry at this point. It's about the same, but the French have got it broken into different brigades, whereas the British have only got the 2. So we're going to start the game with the French. They're going to start up, and we'll crack on with that and do their command rolls. Right, first thing we're going to do is we want to do a brigade order for this brigade over here. The French have got a pretty rough plan of basically holding up some of the British infantry up on the ridge on the flanks, and then also sending in the Guard in the centre, but harassing them as well with the cavalry to force them into square, and then basically attack them from that point, hopefully where they're weakened. Let's see if that happens, but they're going to be, first off, they want to just get these guys forward. They're only going to really do 1 move, so it doesn't matter what they roll. I just want them to get forward enough, at least, to get up to around about where this pond is here. Now, the officer has a staff rating of 7, so he's going to need a 7 or below to pass, but he's got pas de charge, and also he gets a +1 for ordering French units that are in column. All of these are in column, so the pas de charge and the column also gives him an extra +1, so basically a +2. So that takes his staff rating up to 9, so we're looking for a 9 or below for this unit first of all. So let's roll those dice. That's a 10. He's failed. He's actually failed his staff roll. Well, that didn't go so well, did it? So what we're going to try and do now is get a brigade order for these guys to move them forward at least, and get them up, pushing up around here somewhere if they can. So same again, pas de charge. They're also in column, so that gives them a +2 on their command roll of 7. So that takes them up to 9 again. So let's hopefully not getting a 10 this time. That's a blunder. So a blunder. French have started off really well. Let's just see what happens with the blunder. Okay, so we roll on the blunder table. Let's just see what we get. Hopefully the entire brigade won't retreat off the table. Let's roll the dice. 5. Okay, a 5 is move forwards. The unit will attempt to make 1 move to its own front, making 1 move into its own front quarter as far as it can go. If an enemy unit presents itself, the unit can charge if the player wishes. If a brigade order has been attempted, each unit will move as described. So we're moving basically 12-inch forward, so they kind of got what they wanted. They just only get 1 move out of it. So we're going to get these guys up here. So it's kind of done what I wanted them to do anyway. So not so much a blunder as I'm not sure what you would call it. Let's just get them up there anyway. There we go, and then their artillery will come with them as well, so we bring those up here, just on the edge of that cornfield, along with the others. Bring those up behind them. I realised that the artillery over here actually moved too far, so I've just moved them back. They should have only moved 6 inches, not 12 inches. So you can stop writing your comments. Okay, what we're going to do is I'm going to try to move the light cavalry battalion, brigade, up again as close as they can get up that hill again, to try to turn some of those British soldiers into squares if they can. They have a staff rating once again of 7, so let's roll for that. They're not in column or anything, so they just basically get their staff rating. So we roll for that, and they've got a 7. So basically if you roll the same or 1 less than your staff rating, you get 1 move. So basically they get 1 move, which is kind of what they wanted, to be fair. and I'm going to bring those up to here, to that edge of that cornfield. As I say, these are going to start to harass, hopefully harass, the British squares if they can. We'll also bring up the limbered horse artillery as well. I've currently got this limbered, and we're going to bring this right up here to the centre with its limber. Right, that's all I'm going to do for the French movement, because I don't want to move anything else at this point. So basically, we've moved forward the guns. I've actually just moved them slightly out of the way because I realised they're in the way of the French heavy guns, and I want to get those firing up at the south links up here on the ridge. I'm also firing with this battery over here. Both of these I've checked it, it's just over 24 inches, so they are long range. So normally that's hitting at a 4 up, they're only rolling 1 dice each, and also it's a -1, so it's actually a 5 up to hit for both of these. They're both doing the same damage, so I'm just going to roll them anyway. So we're looking at 5s and 6s for both of these French guns. They fire. We've got a 5, a 4 and a 6. Now a 6, if I remember correctly, disorders the unit that he's being fired at. So I'll put a marker down there just to show that that was being disordered. I could break that the line up, but I'm not going to. There we go, they're disordered. So they've only taken 1 hit. Now they have to take a morale test. Their morale is 4, so they need a 4 up, but -1 because they are being shot at by artillery at long range, because it's pretty bad for them. So let's just see if that does any damage to them. And we have a 5, -1 is a 4, so that is a save. So they're okay, but they are disordered, so they're going to have to take that off at the end of their turn. So for the British turn, they're not actually going to move because they're in a pretty strong position as it is. We're going to wait for the French to come on in the same old way. So what they're going to do is going to go straight on to shooting, and we've got a cannon fire from here. Is probably going to fire at the Lancers over here, and then we've also got cannon fire from here as well. This is going to fire into the 55th line, and we've also got Brunswickers who are going to fire at the 55th line as well. So we're going to start with Brunswicks. They have a shoot of 3, so basically they're needing a 4 up. There's nothing else to it than that really. So we're just rolling straight dice, 4s up. We have 1 hit on the French, no disorders on the French. They're taking a saving roll, and that's a 4 up. Oh look, no, they failed that, so they will take 1 casualty. So I'll just mark them with 1 casualty. So there, take that there. Then we've got the 2 artillery pieces. Well, first one I'm going to fire at the 55th over here. They are going to be hitting, they are at a medium range, so these are hitting on a 4, 5 or a 6, but they only get 2 dice for it because they're not long range. A 4 is a hit, so but no disorder on the French. They now take a -2 on their test, so they're saving on a 6 rather than 5 or 6 because it's artillery fire at that range. 2 is a fail, so we put that up to 2 casualties now. They're almost at their stamina before the game has even gotten going. So that's them done. Then I've got the other artillery unit here, over here of the British. That's these guys here. They are going to fire at the Lancers over here. So they're firing once again with 2 dice, hitting on 4s up. See what happens with those. That's 2 hits, no disorder. The French are saving on a 4 up. So let's test those. So 5 and a 2, so they have taken 1 casualty as well. Alright, the French once again are going to try, it's back to the French turn, so the French are now going to try once again that brigade order over here from this fella. So he needs a 9 or less to give him some moves. Let's see where we get. We've got a 6, that is actually 3 less than 9, so that gives him 3 moves. They should have declared them before I moved, but well, they say like I'm going to move forward. They are a brigade order, so they're going to move forward. I'm actually going to move these 24 inches forward, so that's going to take them quite a way up to in front of that ridge. I think that's going to get them there. So what I'll do is I'll set those up off camera and I'll show you where they are. So as you can see here, these Frenchies have got to the bottom of the ridge. They're now facing up against those British lines. The other guys have kind of got caught up a little bit in the ponds over here, but they are making their way forward. If they could have, they probably could have pushed another move out of those, but they were doing this as a brigade order, and I was only doing 2 moves with them, so I'm just getting them up there, and then they will probably do a little bit of firing at the end in their next turn. Let's see who's going to move next. Okay, I'm going to do another brigade order, and it's going to be the French heavy cavalry, and I want to get them in about the centre of the field here, just ready to start charging and harassing that British infantry. So these guys, they have staff rating of 7, so we're looking at 7, and I'm only really doing one move forward just to bring them up a little bit really. The guard are going to sit and wait. Let's have a look what we got. That's an 11, so they fail their staff roll, and it was a brigade roll, so unfortunately for them they don't get to move this turn. Right, over on this flank here, I'm going to do a bit of gadding about. I think we're going to have a little bit of a charge. Let's try that out, shall we? What I want to do is I want to get the Lancers in, and I want to charge them in to the British units up on the top of the hill here. I also want to get the chasseurs à cheval, get them in on the French gun, the British guns over here to try and take those out. I also want the 55th line to charge the guns here to try and take those out, and then one of the units over here to just to pile into the Brunswicks here in the field, or maybe move some of these up. So what we're going to do is we're going to do individual tests, because these are no longer going to be a brigade test. So I'm going to start with one of the others, and then we'll go into closing fire after that, I think. Well, no, I'll do them one at a time. I want to start with the chasseurs, and I'm going to charge those at those guns. I know they're at the back, but I want to get them in, and you can interpenetrate units anyway. So we have a 7. First of all, is what so we're looking for less than a 7, 2d6. That is a 7, so that just gives them 1 action, which is, I think, just enough to get them into range and hit those guns. So let's get those up there, so they pile straight in. Now the guns are going to fire closing fire as those Frenchies come in, and this is going to be at close range, so it's actually going to be, I think that, I don't know if that gives them a +1 on the modifiers. So they're going to be rolling 3 dice because they're firing canister, hitting on 4s up, but it will also cause probably quite a bit of damage to those Frenchies. Let's just have a look. They may actually take a break test as well on this. Let's see. They've hit with 1, so that's a 2 and a 3 and a 6. 6 actually causes disorder, so I'll put a disorder markers down straight away. So that's them there, and then, so the French have got a test against that, but it's a -2, so a 6, so they'll probably take a casualty for this, I would have thought. So I'll roll it in the tray. That's a 5, no, so they take a casualty for that. So that's their casualty. They then will have to take a break test. So they've got to take a break test because he's closing fire from artillery. So and it causes, it's actually a -2 on them because they are disordered, and they are also taking hits from artillery as well. So we roll 2d6, a -2 from it, and it's a shooting test. That's 10, -2 becomes an 8. 7 or more for a shooting test is all passed, so they remain in good order and they continue. So they will then go into close combat, and we'll come on to that in a second after all the shooting and things has happened. So we've got to do our next attack, which is going to be this unit here, the 55th line. We said no, we're going to go in with the Lancers, and they're going to go in against, I think it's the Essex, if I remember correctly. No, it's the King's German Legion. They're going to go in against the King's German Legion. So once again, we need 7 or less to get this. That's a 7, so they have got 1 move, which is just enough for them to do it, and enough for them to pile in there. Now this is going to force the King's German Legion to form into square, because they have formed square. So that's going to help them in the fights, but it means they don't get to conduct closing fire. But it's now put them in square, which is basically what the French cavalry wanted, to be fair. So let's just pile those up there, and then they will then come in again on their fire, or on their hand-to-hand phase. Right, next one, we're going to try to get the 55th in line in against the guns here. I think they are just 12 inch away, yes. So they only require 1 move, but let's move up that brigade commander there with the unit. 11, they failed it. We can try again with, I think this is the 2nd battalion of the 1st light. So they're going to try it, but they're hoping for 2 moves here. They're going to go for the guns. This time they got a 6, which is 1 less than what they had, 1 less than their staff rating. So that actually only brings these guys up to here for them, so they don't get to the target. And we've still got these ones down here, so I'm going to try to get this unit moving in against the Brunswicks. So let's have a look at that. We've got a 4, that's more than enough. or fewer than enough, so then they're going to pile in. I'm just going to shove these in here. They've got enough, and then I'm going to try to get these up so at least they're supporting as well in here. They only need one move. Let's just see where we get it. 12, that is a blunder, so we're going to have to roll for that blunder table and see what happens to them. So we roll that blunder and we've got a 6. A 6 is charge. Unit will attempt to charge the closest enemy it can see. Find out how far the unit moves, roll a dice. So let's see. Well, there you go. 6 is 3 moves. If the unit cannot see an enemy, then it must move forward 1, 2 or 3 moves as described. Right, so it has moved. So closest enemy are these Brunswickers. So I'm going to pile these in as well. So these are going to fight as part of the Brunswicks with their unit there. Just going to shove those in. So they're now fighting with the Brunswicks, and we'll have our brigadier down here, I think. I've just thought, since we're starting to get into combat, I actually want to bring the guard a little bit closer. So we're going to do a brigade order move, and they're just going to shove up. But well, let's see. We'll see how far we get. They're going to probably want to do 2 moves and get themselves up at least quite close to the British line at this point. So let's just see. And we've got a 6, so that only allows them 1 move. So they're all going to move at 12 inches and bring themselves up to about this cornfield here, I think. So I get these up. And as I say, these are now just getting themselves ready into some kind of line to move forward. We'll bring the guns forward with them as well, and the cavalry are going to join them here. So then we shall now then go on to shooting, and then it's going to be close combat. So I've got a bit of shooting on this side. I've got the 2 French march columns. They're going to try to shoot at the Highlanders there on the top of the hill. They're rolling 4s up. They're only rolling 1 dice each, so I'm going to roll them together. So they're hitting on 4s up. So look, a 4 and a 6, so that is a hit. And it's also a disorder on the Scottish. So there's the disorder marker on the Scots. And then we roll for their save. They're saving on a 4 up. And that's it really, a save on a 4 up. Let's have a look. Yes, they've saved 1. And the second one, no. So they've taken 1 casualty. The only other shooting that I've got, and I kind of forgot to do it, is the closing fire from the Brunswick Lights. They're going to close fire on this French unit here before they hit them, because they moved first, so it's just going to go with them. So let's see, they're firing, they're hitting on a 4 up, so that is only 1 hit, 2 misses, so the French are rolling for that. And it is actually a 6, so it has disordered that French unit as they're coming in, so that's useful for the combat. But let's see what that does to them casualty wise. So they're saving on a 4 up. They've saved it anyway, so there's no casualties, but they are disordered. Okay, now we're going to go straight into close combat with the Brunswick Lights against these 2 French infantry. So the French infantry have got 6 each for their dice, but -1 because one of them is disordered. The Brunswicks have only got 6, so we're rolling these and we're adding our 4s onto them to see what happens. Sorry, they're getting 4s up. Our hits. So let's see, Brunswick hits. We've got 1, we got 2, we got 3 and 4. Hits from the French are 1 and 2, 3 and 4. So 4 for 4. So it's a draw, but then we have to roll for casualties as well to see if they survive those hits or not. So I'll just roll those straight up now. So they're saving on 4s for both of them. So let's see, the Brunswicks have failed 2, saved 2. The French have saved 3, but failed 1. So that's 2 hits on the Brunswicks, 1 casualty on the French. So there's the Brunswicks, 2 hits. The ones who are disordered can take hits. So in our case here, the Brunswicks have lost. They've lost by 1, so they have to do a break test, and then we abide by that test results. So we're rolling 1. We're only taking a simple breaking test, and we just have to see what we get. We roll our dice. We've got an 8. An 8 is 7 or more in hand-to-hand infantry. If the unit is infantry, then it holds its ground. The unit remains where it is and will continue fighting until the following combat round. So it stays there fighting with those French. Both of them got the same scores as well because of the same support. Both of them got support from the flank and also from the rear is here, so it kind of blanked out there. Okay, so that was our first combat. I think I did that right. Not 100% sure, but we'll see. I think I got it right. Okay, for the French, we're going to go for the easy one first. So this is the Chasseurs de Cheval hitting those guns. They actually get -1, so they start with a 6, and it drops them down to 5 dice against 1 dice because they're disordered. But the guns have only got 1 dice, so we're hitting on those 4s up. Let's have a look. The British have hit and also disordered the French. French have hit with 3, 5, 5 and 6, so that has disordered those guns as well. Disorder on those guns, and that's a victory of 2 or more. So, but they've also taken 3 hits, so they are currently on their stamina level as well. No, they're actually they've just gone over their stamina level. No, they haven't. It's the foot artillery has a stamina of 2, so yeah, they've just gone over. So they've got to do a break test for that as well anyway. But they have to do a break test for the hand-to-hand combat that they've just been party to. So that means that they have 3 damage of their 2 that they can take. So they've got to now. So they are currently, yeah, they're definitely going to have to do a break test on that, aren't they? So let's just see what happens. We roll our dice and we got a 5. I don't think that's going to be good. Shooting in hand-to-hand artillery. The unit breaks and is deemed destroyed. Remove the entire unit from the field. So they were right to go in with that charge. Now I think the French may have to do a follow-up charge straight after that. So yeah, the French can make a second charge, a sweeping advance it's called. They get to do another charge because they've just destroyed their enemy. So what they're going to do is they're going to actually charge into, I think it's the Essex, isn't it? Lincolnshires. So they're going to charge into them. Because they are being charged, they will then form square. So we'll just turn those guys into square there. Let's get that in, and then the French are going to contact them. I don't think it's going to be very good for the French because they are disordered, they've already got 1 casualty, and they are then charging a square. So let's just work out what happens there. Right, okay, so that charge is the French are actually going to take 1 off their dice because of their disorder from last turn, but we just see how many hits we take on each other on each of these. So let's see, the British have hit them with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hits. The French have scored 1, 2, 3 hits, but they have also disordered the British as well with that 6. So they're in square, but they are getting a bit disordered. Right, so now we have to see how many of those are actual kills. They're only hits, so we're now rolling for our our saves, morale saves. So the British have actually saved 1, 2, 3 of those. So they've taken 2 hits. The French have saved all of those. So that's interesting, isn't it? So the British have actually taken 2 more hits than the French. But because they're in square, let's see that there. The French have actually lost that because the British have taken 2 hits, but the French have taken no hits. But the British, because they're in square, they get a +3 to their final number of hits, basically. So it's 3 against 2, if that makes sense. So all the units on the defeated side have to take a break test again. So we roll for the French break test. This is hand for cavalry. Let's see where we get. We got an 8. This is hand-to-hand cavalry. If the unit is cavalry, the unit retires 1 full move to its rear without changing formation, and at all times avoiding contact with the enemy. If unable to comply, the unit becomes disordered and make two moves to its rear. But it can do that. I think it'll fall back basically behind. So yes, as I expected, the cavalry bounce off that square, so they will fall back to behind the guard themselves. Okay, now we've got the Lancers. They've got 7 dice. They also cause a -1 for morale as well, for the morale rolls for the British. But let's just see if they do any hits in the first place. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 3 6s in there. So that's disordered the British. Meanwhile, the British have scored 2 hits. This could be nasty for them. There's the British being disordered, and so we're taking 6 hits against 2. The British are in square, so they will get a bonus for that. The British are saving their tests only on a 6 because it's -2 for the Lancers. I do apologise. Let's have a look. So the British are looking for 6s. They haven't saved a single one, so they've actually taken, oh, quite a hit there. They've taken 6 hits, 6 casualties. The French have also taken 2 as well. They didn't save theirs, so that's taken the French up to shaken. Meanwhile, the British have taken 6 hits. So that's their 6 hits there. We'll discard those 3 over their stamina if they hold. But let's see. So we got 6 hits against. No, sorry, 7 hits. That was they saved one. What am I about? So yeah, they've taken 6 hits. The French have saved none of theirs. So basically, it's a difference of 1 to the French. So they've actually defeated those that infantry square with their lancers. So then we roll for the British break test and see what happens to them in this case. You never know, this square might get wiped out. Well, let's see what I get. They've got a 7. The 7 is infantry. If the infantry, if its unit is infantry, it holds its ground. The unit remains where it is and will continue fighting in the following combat round. So they're still engaging with each other there on the top of that hill. I'm just going to say I'm a little bit confused as to what really happens here. As far as I'm aware, the British have done a break test. I mean, that was a break test because of the morale. I don't know if they have to do a second break test because of the excess damage on their stamina. But once they've done a break test, their stamina is reduced back down. You know, excess stamina is reduced back down to their stamina level anyway. So I'm assuming that right now they just go back down to 3 stamina and they stay where they are, and the French cavalry stay where it is as well. I would have thought, this is just me thinking outright, that these cavalry, I can't see it anywhere in the rules, but these cavalry should have bounced off if they hadn't destroyed the unit itself. But I can't see that anywhere in the rules, so let me know in the comments if I am doing that wrong. I probably have done, but let's just keep playing anyway. It's all about the narrative, right? So we're on to the Brits' turn. Right, what they're going to do now is they're going to unleash their cavalry. They're going to pile these their light cavalry brigade down into the French in the valley down here. They will form square, but they're just going to try and hit them with as much as they can. So it's not a brigade move, so we're going to go through each one of these units individually and try to get them to do something. So first one's over here, Hussars. Let's have a look. 7, yes, they can do something. So I'll see who does something first, because I know what they're all going to do. They're all just going to pile forward into the French. So the next one's over here, the next Hussars. That's an 8. I think the Hussars are reliable. No, they don't get to do anything. Right, the next one's over then. We have some more. Are they more Hussars? Are they light dragoons? I think they are. Let's have a look. These guys, 6. Yes, they get to pile in. The next Hussars next to them, next to the dragoons, they've got a 9, so they don't get to. But then we do have a small unit as well of Hussars. Let's see if they do. They've got an 8. No, they don't. So we only have actually 2 units unleashed into those French. So I'll get those set up. French are going to form square, but this could go either way for either side, I guess. Okay, I'm going to try something pretty similar over here, but first of all I want to move these guns out of the way and get them back behind those infantry. So this is going to have to be an individual roll. They need a 7 or less just to move them at least. That's an 8. No, they haven't moved them, unfortunately for them. But we're going to release some of these British cavalry. So we're going to try and charge these fellas in. These are the household cavalry. These are reliable, so they get a +1 on their roll basically. So 8 or less is what they're requiring. So we'll go with the Scots Greys first of all. That's a 7. Yes, they got in. So we're going to go piling into these French here with them. They will then form square as before. So they now have been hit by the British cavalry. I don't think I can really get much more in there at this point. So we're just going to have to see what happens, I think, and then hopefully try and clear up some of these French infantry. I can't move anybody through any of these areas. It's a bit too packed at this point. So let's just see what happens with that. Close combat, I guess. Okay, so we're going to do some firing first of all with the British guns against that French square. They can just hit them on the side as the cavalry pile in there. So we're hitting on 4s up. So that's 3 hits and a disorder. So are they saving those 3 hits? Let's see, they're saving them on a 4-up. They've saved 2 of them, but not 1 of them. Actually, they get a -2 because they're firing at guns at close range. So they've actually taken 3 hits there. So that's kind of really what the British want there, I think, just before they come in. Don't think there's any other firing I can do with the British at this point. Yeah, the other guns have been wiped out and everybody else is out of range. So we're going to go straight onto the cavalry attack, household cavalry. So these are heavy cavalry. They get an extra D3 hits on this as well. So let's just roll for that first of all. Let's roll for our normal hits. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 hits on those French. The French have caused 1 hit on the cavalry, so we also get another D3 hits for the British. Let's have a look, roll that. That's actually another 3 hits, so I'll stick in some more dice here for the morale saves. And this is not going to go well, I don't think, for the French, to be perfectly honest, even though they're in squares. This is what happens when you get hit by heavy cavalry, I guess. And let's see, the French have the British have saved theirs, so they're fine. The French have failed 1, 2, 3, 4, and they've already got 3 hits there, so that takes them up to 7. So, as I said before, I'm not entirely sure what happens here because they're going to have to do a break test anyway because they've been defeated in close combat. So that will drop back down to 3 as soon as they've done this break test. So we're going to test that break test, and we're rolling our dice. And we've got a 7. I've made a mistake. I forgot to put in those extra casualties. That's where the thing comes in. So they've actually taken four extra casualties in there. So that they've rolled a 7 minus 4 is a 3, which is shooting hands and infantry and artillery unit breaks and is deemed destroyed. Remove the entire unit from the field. So yes, the British have wiped them out. That probably should have happened elsewhere as well, so I do apologise. And now those British British cavalry get to follow up and charge into something else, and I think there's another French unit behind which they will charge into, so I'll get them set up and they might even hit another square. Right, so we've got our next one. The British heavy cavalry are piling in once again into that square there. So this time they've got 8 against 6. They get that D3 extra bonus because they are heavy cavalry. So let's roll for our dice. Let's see what we get. We've got the French have caused 2 hits. Now the British cav have caused 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hits. Plus they get a D3 extra hits, and that's another 3 hits on the French, so that's going to be 3 more morale saves for these French here. So let's roll and see if we can get this combat right this time round. Let's have a look. So this time the French have taken 4 hits there. They haven't saved. They've failed 4. They've saved 4 but failed 4. The British have failed 1 and saved 1. So we've got 4 casualties on that on the French unit, 1 casualty on the British unit. Don't recall anybody rolling any 6s, so nobody's disordered. But then this is a break test against the French, and this time they get a -1 because they've got an excess of hits from their stamina. So it's a 2d6 minus 1. That's a 3, that becomes a 2, ouch. The unit breaks and it's deemed destroyed. Remove the entire unit from the field. So that's the British heavy cavalry have just wiped out 2 French squares. Well, we've still got our scrap going on here with the Brunswick, so let's just see what happens at the end of this. They probably should have disappeared last turn, but hey ho, never mind. Right, so the British have caused 1, 2, 3 hits, the Brunswick should I say, on the French, and that has caused them 2 disorders. One of them is already disordered, so they've disordered the other one. The French, I can see at least 1 disorder in there, so I'm going to chuck that on the Brunswicks now. This might have a bit of a different outcome from last time, but they've caused 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hits on those Brunswicks. So 7 versus 3, but let's see what the saves are, the morale saves. So we're rolling for these, and these are 4s up. So we've got the Brunswicks have, the French have failed 2 but taken 1. So I'm going to pull 1 casualty on the other battalion there. Doesn't have one yet. So that goes on there. And then we've got hits on the Brunswick. They've taken 4, so that takes them up to 6 on their casualties. So they're going to have to do a break test because they've been defeated. They get a break test now with a -3 on their test results. So we roll for that. That is in 11 -3 is an 8. They still hold their ground, so they just continue fighting. But then because we've done that break test, we drop this down here, back down to 3. So they're still they're close to taking some hits, but they're okay, I think, at this point. And then we've got the Lancer attack on this square. Now this might be a bit different again this time. Let's just see what happens. The Lancers have got 7 dice. The Brits have only got 5 because they are disordered. So we've got the British have hit 1, 2 and 3, but they have caused disorder on those Lancers, so I'll stick that on. Meanwhile, the Lancers have caused 1, 2, 3 hits. They've disordered the British. They were already disordered anyway, so they are still disordered. So it's 3 for 3 at this point. That's not as good as Brits. The British have got a -2 on their save because of the Lancers. So they're saving on 6s. That's on the blue dice. The Lancers are saving on 4s up. So the Lancers have saved all theirs. The British haven't saved a single one of theirs. So that means they now are on. They take 3 excess casualties there. So I'll just turn that onto there. So now we roll for their break test. It's 3 for 3 actually, so it's a draw again, isn't it? Because it's 3 for 3 because they're in a square. There's another thing I forgot. Any unit that reaches its level has to do a break test anyway. So yeah, both of these are going to have to do their break test. They're because the Lancers are on a 3 and their stamina, I believe, is only a 3. So let's have a look. Yeah, stamina of 3, so they have to do a break test as well. British have to do one, but they do one with a -3 on it. So let's do the French one first of all. Double 1. That means shooting hand to hand, unit breaks, it's deemed destroyed. Remove the unit from the field entirely. So they are completely gone. So that's, wow, that was really relatively unexpected. They'd only just got to their point of break. But the British square, let's see what happens to them. They're rolling now with a -3. They've got a 9, so they are perfectly fine. So they drop down to, well, they got 6, they got 12, so they drop down to 3 on their thing there. So they're just going to be disordered. Wow, those squares have held. Right, okay, so we now got the Hussars versus the 2 French squares here. So we're going to do the first one over here, and that's the 12th Hussar, 15th Hussars, and we got the 7th Hussars over there. Who are they hitting? They are hitting the 1st Light Battalion and also the 1st, 4th Light Battalion as well. Right, so we're going to go first of all with these. Now, the British have actually got ferocious charge, so they can re-roll any misses that they want in there. So we're going in first of all with 4s up on both sides. We've got British have hit. Here we got 1, 2, 3 misses, 3 hits. The French have caused 3 hits and a disorder on those Hussars. So first off, the Hussars are disordered, but they've got that ferocious charge, so they get to re-roll these. And this time they've caused another hit. So it's 4 against 3. So let's do those morale tests. Let's see what we got here. So the French have, they've failed all of theirs, so that's 4 hits on the French. British have failed 2 of them, so they've taken 1 hit on them. 1 hit there. French have taken 3 hits, so that will then cause them to become shaken and have to do a break test. They don't have any excess hits on there, but they do have those 3 hits. But they've won the combat. So the British, I think, have to do a break test there as well. But the French are going to have to do a break test anyway because they are now shaken. So let's do their test for a shaken. So the French one is a 9. They're fine. They hold their ground. The British break test, though, because they're into combat, is a 9, so they're okay as well, and they can continue. And cavalry, it retires 1 full move to its rear without changing formation. So basically they do bounce back off that square, which is feels right, to be honest. Right, okay, so let's do the other one, and I'll move the British back in a second. So this is actually going to be the same as before. The French didn't get any closing fire on this because they were forming square. So it's going to be the same again. British get re-rolls on any misses. So the British have hit with 1. I don't think they need it. No, they've got 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hits. They've disordered the French as well. So that's there. The French have hit with, oh, they've only hit with 1. The British do get that re-roll. That's another hit, a veritable hit. So now we've got to do our morale tests. So the French have got 6 to do, the British have got 1, so we'll do the British on their own. They've failed it, so they have taken a hit. The French, meanwhile, have failed 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. So there's the British hit, there's the French hit, and the French get a +3, so it's actually a draw. Oh, there we go. Cavalry have to retire 1 move after a draw anyway, so they're going to have to fall back. The French, meanwhile, are going to have to do a break test with a -1 on their rolls. So let's have a look. Things I've been missing. A 5 on their break test. It was a 6, came down to a 5. Infantry and cavalry, the unit retires 1 full move to its rear without changing formation and at all times avoiding contact with the enemy. It becomes disordered if not already also, which it is. And that's it really. So yeah, it just gets back the British. That was something I missed previously in the draw earlier, that the French cavalry should have been pushed back. So I do apologise for those rules lawyers out there. I don't really think the French plan has gone to plan at this point. Well, you might have. Let's just see what we're going to do. I'm going to play. Let's go over to the French turn. So we're going to try to get the guard activated. I want to get the guard cavalry piling into the British cavalry over here. Possibly push some of these up as well into some of these squares. See if we can break them up a little bit, and or actually just get the grenadiers in against those squares and give them some umpty up there. I think so. That's the plan now. So I'm going to try to roll individual dice for these French units. So let's see, we're going to try with these ones first of all. So they've got a I think there's actually their command is actually 8 because they are the guard. So let's have a look. So they've got an 8, so that is a single move. So we're going to get them up there. I want to try to get them at least into some kind of action, I think, before the end of this game. And we've got the other guard over here. These are going to try and do the same. They need a 2. And they're going to try to charge in up there. 9 is a fail, so they don't get to do anything. We do have the chasseurs at the back. They're going to try to get them to pile in as well. So let's have a look. They've got a 9. They don't get to do anything. No, they might be reliable, so I think they might be able to. They actually get it, to be honest. Yes, they're reliable, so they did actually pass their test. And I said I wanted to charge them up, so they can get in. So they're going to pile into that British square there, and hopefully give them a bit of hammer. We're also then going to try and pile the guys here in as well into the British cavalry, and that's a 3. So yes, they do get 3 moves. So the ones that didn't need it are the ones that got it. So that's them piled in there. So we're just going to shove them into there. I think that might be the only move the French are going to do. They're just going to be changing formation and basically shaking. Oh no, I've got a couple more over there. I'll do those off camera, but we'll see if they get a move or not. Just to show you over here on the French side what happened, both of these tried to do a order change, a formation change. They failed it, both of them failed it, but the other ones over here, these managed to move forward. I didn't want to move these forward, I just want to keep them where they are just for now, just because I want to kind of keep the brigade as close together as possible. So these guys are still stuck in square, whereas these ones are not. Right, I think there's too much happening for the French to shoot any of the artillery or any other things, so we're going to go straight on to hand combat, and we're going to go with the chasseurs, the cheval of the guard, as they pile into that square there. And let's see if I can actually work out this roll better. Right, so we got 9 against 6. Let's have a look. We've got the British have hit 1, 2. They've only scored 2 hits. How many have the French scored? But they have disordered the chasseurs. The chasseurs have also disordered that the unit again. So let's put those in there, and they've taken 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hits against the Brits. So it's 5 against 2. Let's do those morale tests. So the chasseurs have actually got a morale of 3, so they're rolling 3 up, and they've saved 1, failed 1. The British, on the other hand, have saved 2, failed 3. So that's 3 hits on the British. That takes them up to 5, which is going to be a disorder test anyway. But they've actually, I think they've just beat the French just there, because they're in square, so they get a +1. The French have caused 1. The French have caused 3. The British have caused 1 plus 3 is actually 4. So the French are defeated. So this is the break test for the French and for the British. The British are getting a -2 on their break test. The French are just doing a basic break test. Let's do the British first of all. -2. Let's see what happens to them. That's 9 -2 is 7. So that they basically hold their ground. They're still disordered, but they do hold their ground. So they're okay to continue on. And the French cavalry, the worst they're going to get is a withdrawal anyway. So let's just see, or retire. A 11, yes, they will retire. So they do bounce off. There you go, that's how you do it. They bounce off 18 inches, so they come back all the way back here to the other chasseurs. And now we have our cavalry clash of guard versus guard. Oh, I forgot to add in that extra D3 of guard cavalry, but never mind. These two also get an extra 3 D3 hits on each other, so let's just see what we've done. The French have caused 1, 2, they've disordered the British, 2, 3, 4, 6 hits and a disorder. There's their disorder. And the British have caused 1, 2, 3 hits on the French, and then they also both get a D3 extra each. So I'll just roll those hits as well, see what we get. Look, the French have caused another 3 hits, so I'll just stick those in. There's another 3 hits, and the British have caused 2 hits. So that's 5 against, quite a lot I think at this point. This might be nasty for the Brits. Well, we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 hits against 5. So let's see who's able to save. The French are saving on a 3 up, I believe. They're both saving on 3s up. So the British have taken 1, 2, 3 hits. The French have taken 1, 2 hits. So the British are actually on 4, so they've been defeated by 1. The French have taken 2 hits. So 2 hits there. And the British, as we said, they already had 1 hit anyway, so they've got to do a break test because of that. So let's just see what happens with that. It's got a -1 on it. So we roll for our break test with a -1. 4, 5 becomes a 4. The unit breaks and it's deemed destroyed. Remove the entire unit from the field. So now the French can actually follow up that attack. And they can do a sweeping charge, and I think they are going to pile into those guns, you know, right in front of them. So let's just check that they're in range. Charge range, yes they are, so they can take that extra move, and of course they're going to pile in there. Fortunately for them, the guns are going to fire at them as they come in, so that's going to be 3 dice, a close range firing from the guns, and that is 2 hits. So 2 saves for those French, and they've saved 1, and that's taken them up to 3. So they now actually have to do a break test, just a straightforward break test though. Let's see what happens with that. That's a 5. That's his infantry and cavalry. The unit retires 1 full move to its rear without changing formation. It becomes disordered as well. So they didn't actually get into the guns, they are bounced off the guns and pushed all the way back, and they are pretty badly damaged as well at this point. So yeah, that's not good for them, is it? Right, we've got a final bit of fighting here, and it's going to be on the French versus the Brunswicks. There's quite a lot of French here, so let's just see what the Brunswicks get. Oh bloody hell, they've hit with every single one, and also disordered the French. They're already disordered anyway, so that's 5 hits for the Brunswicks. Let's see what the French get. They've hit with only 2 hits on the Brunswicks. Right, so let's do those morale tests for each. So the French have taken 3 hits there, so I'll just put those there, so we'll distribute those amongst them. So these guys are going to need a break test, and the Brunswicks have saved both of theirs, so the French are defeated by 3 in there. So that puts them up to 3, so that's a break test for them. push them up to 2, and that's a break test for them as well, because both of those are defeated in close combat. So first one over here, let's try these guys. These are just rolling their dice, and they've got a 5. That is, they retire 1 full move and become disordered. I'll move them in a second. The other ones, do they stand and fight? Double 1, they disappear. They have gone. They've collapsed. So the Brunswicks, the light Brunswicks, have actually held their position and held off 2 French battalions. Bloody hell, that's good going. Right, okay, I'm going to leave it at that, to be honest. I don't think the French can get any further. I think the French are going to throw in their towel at the end of their turn, simply because the Brunswicks just smashed up the last, almost the last of this, the brigade on the left. So there's very little of that left. It's got 2 guns left, so that's pretty much a faltering. And this unit here, which is pretty badly smashed up, it's got 3 casualties anyway. The cavalry is pretty much in disarray. Both the guard and the chasseurs have been thrown back as well with casualties, and they're disrupted. But they'll pull that back. Meanwhile, over here, these guys just did not get through those swamps, and they are stuck in square at the moment because they failed their tests, which leaves them at the mercy of the British up on the hill up there. All they do need to do is launch a couple of charges into the French down here, and I think they would quite easily smash them up, to be perfectly honest. We've got 1 Guard Grenadier unit just ligging about here on its own, completely isolated, again up against, you know, several battalions of British and KGL. I think that guard will just disappear at some point, so there's literally not much point them fighting. They will probably just start to retire. They're stuck out on their own there. The only thing is the French have really got that's of any use and fresh, apart from a couple of guard battalions, is the heavy cavalry, but they are so far back. I mean, they could charge them up the hill into the British, but again, they're just going to turn square and punch them off. Right, so I'm going to leave it at that. I had fun playing that. I thought that was a fun game. I do prefer a little bit of granularity in my games than this offers, but I did enjoy it. I'd like to play again, and I know I got a load of stuff wrong. I will try to put it on the screen where I got things wrong. I remember a lot of it was that the cavalry bouncing off squares and things, really, that I got wrong earlier on. As I say, this is first time I played Black Powder, and apart from that half game that I played at the club a long time ago. So yeah, I think, you know, I did okay, and it's the narrative of the game more important than anything else. But yes, that British line have definitely held. The crossroads are still in British hands. I did, you know, say possibly a six turn game, but you know, that was just kind of like a bit of a throwaway comment. But I think it's come to about 6 turns. I can't remember exactly where we were, but yeah. Another British turn would just at this point be a French defeat, and there isn't really much point going through that. I don't think there's much point going through the motions at this point, to be honest, because the French have been kind of stopped halfway across the field where they are. They've not really got that far forward. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I will play some more Black Powder at some point in future, probably even when I get even more figures to shove on the table. But I hope you enjoyed it. If you have, leave me a comment, leave me a like as well, and let me know what you thought about this. And if you'd like to see more Black Powder on this channel, there may be scope for it at some point in the future. And if not, as always, if you haven't done already, please do hit that subscribe button. And also, I will see you in the next Storm of Steel video.